Well, we're getting close to the end of 2022, and it looks like we have one more big week in gaming before we call it a close and head into the new year with 2023. And that's because the Video Game Awards are happening this week on Thursday, December 8th. And while it says awards in the title, most of us look at it as kind of a mini E3 with the big Game of the Year winner at the end. And today, I want to talk a bit about some of the stuff we can expect, some wild predictions here and there, and why we'll all probably get overexcited and then brutally disappointed afterwards. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button, and if you're new to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. I had to go back and look at last year's to get an idea as to what the big reveals were, and let's see, there was Wonder Woman, Alan Wake 2, I mean, that was pretty good to see that one. Star Wars Eclipse, sounds like that game's still years off now. That's kind of it. I mean, there really wasn't a ton of stuff that came out of the Game Awards last year that we're even talking about now, with many of these titles still just being either works in progress or not necessarily internet breaking. I mean, at one point we had the Xbox Series X debut. That was a pretty big deal to see that. And then last year they closed out with The Matrix, which was like the experience tech demo. They got to walk around the city, and then they delisted it before we got to the Game Awards 2022. And I understand not every event can have Fast and the Furious to close out, but I also think that maybe 2021 just happened to be the situation with the COVID remote work, the disruption really catching up, and there just not being as much that was ready to be shown. As I've mentioned, and many others have, demos or any of these showings, they take time to put together, create, and plan out. So yes, with the lagging effect that COVID had on the gaming industry that we've really seen, I would say, come into effect, especially over this last year or so, I'm kind of thinking going into 2023, we should see a pretty good year across the board for games. Microsoft, for example, most likely will release a first-party game, a big first-party game next year. So I am hopeful that this ends up being a Game Awards with some big-time reveals that are really, really exciting so we can get back into the swing of things heading into 2023. Some of the stuff that we're kind of expecting to be here includes Final Fantasy 16. I'm assuming a brand new trailer with a release date, as it's already been discussed that Yoshi P will be there with a presentation, so that would make sense. I know we have the Pedro Pascal, Bella Thorne, they will be there to do a presentation, I think to present a award maybe, but maybe Sony takes the opportunity to have something to go alongside of the show that's coming up, and they give us an idea as to what this Last of Us Factions multiplayer would be. A new game from 505 and Epic Games has been teased. Sounds like it's a new intellectual property. There were some people who were very hopeful that it might, I saw on Twitter, it might be Sleeping Dogs related. That's Square Enix. I don't know if Square Enix is going to hand out Sleeping Dogs for 505 and Epic Games to work on. I think this is just a new intellectual property. Here's hoping it's not some kind of arena hero shooter thing. And Hideo Kojima has been teasing more and more about something. He's even shown some logos up on Twitter. And I mean, let's face it, the relationship between Jeff Keighley and Hideo Kojima has allowed him to do things like announce a podcast at a gaming event. So here's hoping he shows up with a game this time, maybe Death Stranding 2. It sounds like Overdose that he's making for the Xbox is still a ways off there. And hey, Jedi Survivor, it's supposed to be coming out in like 3 or 4 months. Might be a good time to announce that release date. Those are just a few of the things we're expecting to be at the Game Awards. And then we sort of get into the realm of heavy speculation, because the Game Awards could have legitimately everything there. This is an awards show that any company from gaming can take part in. I mean, any gaming company. We've seen some interesting reveals from studios that I've never even heard of before, but we like to imagine that Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft would take part in this and have at least a single reveal from each one. And that's kind of what I'm playing off of here, getting things back on track with gaming going into 2023. Maybe we could see reveals from all three of them. First, though, honorable mention, some wild speculation, something Mega Man related from Capcom. Again, Capcom, do the right thing here. But let's go over to Nintendo first, because last year, I think they just had advertising. I think that was it. They just had an ad spot. I mean, Metroid Dread was there. They was nominated for awards, won an award. It was great. But otherwise, that was kind of it. We don't have them being able to fall back on a brand new Smash character or anything like that. But I mean, they've shown brand new titles here. They had Bayonetta 3 and then Bayonetta 1 and 2 remasters going to the Switch. That was all revealed at the Game Awards. So I'd like to think that they would show up with something a bit more meaningful than a 30-second ad spot for a system we've known about for a long time. Maybe they do something with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. That's the front runner with speculation now as to what they could show here. We already know the release date, so I guess they could just give us another glimpse at 30 seconds of out-of-context gameplay that we can all speculate about for another month or two before the next big direct to kick off 2023. Otherwise, though, obviously they're pushing a lot with the Mario movie now, and most recently they debuted Donkey Kong with a new design and all this. Maybe they show another trailer for the Mario movie there, maybe some extra footage, because there was another 30-second trailer was getting passed around. Maybe something like that. And then they're like, oh yeah, there is a new Donkey Kong game. Here it is. And they present that for next year. Maybe that's what I'll go with, because I don't think I'm prepared to relive the Metroid Prime stuff again for the Game Awards. I mean, it'd be great, but I feel like we've talked about Metroid Prime 4 and this Metroid Prime HD stuff for a while, so if it happens, it happens, but I'm kind of now leaning towards either Zelda or, who knows, maybe a new Donkey Kong. Oh, or maybe Nintendo can shadow drop GoldenEye completely. They don't even give us a release date. They just say, hey, it's available on the Nintendo Switch Online app right now. I do expect Sony to be here in some fashion, mostly because they have multiple games up for nominations. God of War, obviously, all over the place. I believe that's the most nominated title right now. But then Horizon Forbidden West is in the Game of the Year discussions. They have a couple representatives up there. Might be a good time to announce some sort of game here. And I mean, they have so many they can pull from right now with their live service projects that, I mean, currently are a bunch of code names. And sure, the Last of Us faction stuff will be great. But otherwise, maybe they give us a look at Twisted Metal. I think that'd be really cool, since there's supposed to be some other stuff going on in film for the Twisted Metal intellectual property. It's going to be an interesting thing to see that unfold, but a game would be awesome, and it sounds like it's going to be a live service title with multiplayer, as you'd expect for a Twisted Metal game. So maybe that, or maybe they just lean on Kojima and it is a Death Stranding 2 reveal for him. And then we have Microsoft, and they're pretty difficult to predict right now because they have so much stuff that is apparently in development, and we know about some of it, like a Fable or a Perfect Dark or an Indiana Jones, and I don't believe Fable or Perfect Dark would be there because we already know about them, and unless they're prepared to show up with actual gameplay and maybe even a year to slap on it for us to expect, kind of hard for them to show up again with another CG trailer just to give us a look at the title screen again. I wouldn't mind seeing Indiana Jones, though, if, again, it was ready to be shown in a meaningful way. And for that one, if you remember, all we saw originally was just a very brief glimpse at some artifacts and materials and stuff on a table. Maybe they could show some elements of the story, kind of where it's taking place, and if they're prepared for gameplay, that'd be awesome. But, I mean, with all the stuff they have in development now, they could just pull from anywhere. I would like to see, though, this entire situation with Halo Infinite, where we get a look at the Battle Royale that, at this point, it needs something, and to get that big hype moment of, oh yeah, this is the mode that's been worked on for 2+ years by this other studio, and it's going to show up next year for Halo Infinite. I think it'd be great. But if not, I mean, a date for Starfield that they can stick to, sure, or Redfall, as I believe Redfall is the next game that's up from Microsoft heading into 2023. Or hey, if they want to get absolutely crazy, go ahead and reveal the new Banjo game. I mean, come on, Microsoft, you want to do a new Banjo-Kazooie, and yeah, there are rumors around that too, but it would add the diversity to the lineup for Game Pass, right? They're trying to do all these different things, and it's one of the reasons Pentiment even exists in the first place, because the service just kind of fuels those kinds of games, and Banjo, to me, is one that I think would be really cool to have, sure, in Game Pass, but just existing in general. as long as they don't try to pull a nuts and bolts with it, just go back to the basics. New Banjo-Kazooie game, that would be one that I would certainly remember from the Game Awards. Now, there are many third-party games that could be revealed here that would send the internet into a frenzy, and most of them are way out in left field as even being a possibility. But again, this is an awards show where we had the Xbox Series X debut, brand new hardware for the first time. And while I don't think there will be any new hardware here, I do believe it's possible we could have a couple of big software reveals that no one really saw coming, like maybe GTA 6. Okay, that might be pushing it because you figure Take-Two and Rockstar would want to do it on their own when they are ready, but maybe they've been ready, and maybe they're looking at this as a good showcase to kick off the big marketing push for GTA 6, as you figure that'd be something that would run for probably a year and a half to 2 years, as, let's face it, it's going to be the biggest release and launch ever for a video game when it does come out. I also have down FromSoft in some capacity. There are talks that there's some sort of Sekiro 2, but it takes place in the future or something. It's there again, rumors leading up to the Game Awards. We hear that many of them are just incorrect or fake. So I'm leaning towards them maybe revealing that Armored Core game that's been talked about for quite some time, that apparently was undergoing playtesting and feedback from focus groups. That would be really cool to see them go from Elden Ring, which again, Game of the Year nominee and most likely the game that's going to take home the big prize. And then you have FromSoft, creators of Elden Ring, showing off their next big game, and it's completely different. It's this mech-based shooter, melee, Souls-like game. It's all over the place. That would be really cool to see something like that. So I'm holding out hope for Armored Core, really am, because I think FromSoft right now is on a roll, and it'd be really cool to see them keep it going with something like a new Armored Core. And finally, I wanted to write something down for PlayStation VR 2, because it's coming out here in a couple of months. Sony clearly wants to have that front and center, I assume in some capacity. Could just be an advertising spot. It's easy. Or maybe this is where they reveal that Half-Life Alyx will indeed be part of PlayStation VR 2, either launch lineup or just set for 2023. Seriously, that launch lineup, or just the lineup in general, needs some help. I understand, once again, they have first-party developers working on some things, and even some studios they've contracted out, but if you can get that Half-Life Alyx port to the PSVR 2, I think it will become very compelling for many people. But let me know what you think could be at the Game Awards for a big-time reveal. I don't want to go through every single rumor and expectation that's out there. I wanted to leave some stuff open to you guys to kind of drop in the comments down below with the predictions, and I mean, we're going to find out in less than a week what big reveals we have to close out 2022, and we can come back and take a look, see who was right. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.